All right, Atheist Edge. I am Chris here with Steve McCrae, who you may recognize from the internet if you have watched anything atheist on YouTube. And what better way, since we have you on the show, what better way to use you than have you answer random questions and talk about random topics of Jim's choosing?
Random topics. Okay, we'll give it a shot. I'm from the internet, which is a big place, but
Yes.
yes. All right.
Ready?
Yeah,
Yep.
no, but we have to have a choice.
Russia election interference.
Oh, good grief.
So my limited, I'm out of date on this probably. I think there was a point where the intelligence community were pretty sure that it was a thing, and it sounds like a thing that I would do if I were Russia, just for kicks and giggles.
Yeah, it
But-
doesn't surprise me. They had some
Yeah.
hand in it, sure. I mean, Russia's obviously not our allies, and if they're going to try to manipulate us, it'd be probably through election tampering of some sort.
Yeah, it's like modern Cold War
Yeah,
type,
exactly.
type issues. And I've been kind of concerned that, this has been out there, and we have President Trump who's basically, not willing to hold them to account for anything. He's kind of just letting them do what they want, and I don't know what his reasoning for it, if he's paying back for winning the election or if he has some financial interests. I really don't see
All of the
anything.
above?
Yeah, I don't
I mean,
see
those two words to me still, just President Trump, just for some reason, I still have to wrap my head around that. But
I didn't believe it.
yeah, I mean, it's like 20 years ago. Can imagine that. But I think there probably was some collusion. I think there was a quid pro quo of some sorts. I do think that the phone call that he had seem to imply that he was either going to withhold aid or something with Javelin missiles. And I think that he did want to have some of his political people investigated, like Biden and things of that nature. So I think there was definitely things out there that should probably be impeachable offenses, and I do think that a lot of it does stem from Russia probably somehow helping to tamper in some way. Now, what they actually did, I have no idea. I think a lot of the Cold War stuff is going to be all behind the scenes. It's all propaganda and computerized hacking or whatever. But yeah, there's no. If you're Russia and you're not fans of us, you're a big country, right? You're going to probably want to mess with us all you can. Probably China the same way.
Yeah, and Putin's an old KGB guy.
Right.
He's never been a fan of the U.S. and there's a lot of shit going around that we may never find out exactly what's happening for another 10 years, 20 years until people have moved on, stuff gets declassified, people discover new reports and memorandums or
New
whatever.
phone calls, recordings.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, do you think that Putin? Do you think he's like the puppet master of Trump? I mean, because I think that it sounds like he's got something over him. Like he's just like. Not like it's blackmail or something, but it sounds like there's a lot of dirt on Trump probably, and I think they're probably using it to their advantage, and I think that Trump probably knows that. It seems to be the case, right? I mean, obviously, this is just mere opinion, but it does seem like they've got something over him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's that specifically, but I mean, Trump is an easy guy to manipulate, either with money or with flattery.
He's not a smart man.
Yeah,
He's just not a smart man.
Yeah, we need someone who's a little less manipulatable in the White House, but and there are no counter opinions in this room at all.
Look at TJ. He is so wanting to.
Is he a Trump fan?
Oh, yes, he is.
Oh.
I'm not a fan. I think the guy has done some good things for the
You
country.
need to get in.
You own a hat.
I do own a hat because I went to a rally for the show,
need to get
for
in.
work.
He's in MAGA. Okay.
It's not a MAGA hat.
I'm not judging.
45th president on the back of it.
I mean, I don't know what. Okay.
Not 45, right?
I mean, the man has handlers to the point where they have to explain to him every single little report. I mean, they have to break it down to like a fifth grade reading level so he understands these things. He has no experience with geopolitical understandings of it. He doesn't have any understanding of how Congress works. Every time he talks about, they can't do this or they can do that, he's been incorrect on it. I mean, I'm not a big Pelosi fan either, but I think she's actually been doing this step by step. And I was against impeachment a long time ago. Matter of fact, I'll go on record. We had Arn on a while back, a long time ago, and Arn had predicted, if I remember correctly, I would have to find the video, but if I remember correctly, he predicted that Trump would be impeached in the first 6 months. And when it came to me, I said, I think he will be impeached, but toward the end of his term, near the end of term, third or fourth year. And guess what? But we both did say he was going to be impeached.
I have to.
Bring it on in, man.
So yeah, so they already spilled the beans and said, hey, we've been working on this since we found out he was going to become president, man. They've been trying to get the dude, the corporate Democrats have been trying to negate the 2016 election.
Well, I mean,
that's what they're doing.
If there was some tampering there's some reasons. I remember back in Bush where they had like the hanging chads, right?
I just find it so funny though that they're saying that he did all this to harm a political adversary. And like, oh my God, what the hell are these people doing to him? They're doing the exact same thing that they're deriding him for.
But you can't use a foreign national to try to dig dirt on your political opponents. That's kind of frowned upon. That's not.
We get to. If we aid someone, it's because we decided to, not because we owe them anything, though. Yeah.
But there are rules.
Anyway.
There are laws.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't have to help them in perpetuity, Steve.
Dun dun.
Well, yeah, I mean,
in perpetuity.
Yeah. If someone commits a crime, you can't negate that crime by saying, "Oh, the cops don't like me."
Yeah.
That doesn't excuse any offense.
Yeah, I mean, if he committed acts of high treason or if he did anything like illegal, then it's regardless if he is a good person or not.
And this is entirely subjective. But if I were running Democrat opposition, I would be looking for impeachable offenses from day one because he's such a shady asshole. He's probably going to do something impeachable.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they were doing that from day one. But again, I wasn't for impeachment originally because impeachment process never really helps anybody. It's arduous. It goes on for a very long period of time. No sitting president has ever been removed. And so I think censorship was probably a better option, to censor a sitting president, which is not explicitly, from what I understand, mentioned in the Constitution, but it can be done. But now he's the third president to be impeached, and I think the only thing that's probably in the long term on it is I think it's really going to hurt him in the long run trying to get reelected. Mm-hmm. But I think you're right. I think from day one they were probably looking for things for impeachability because even before he even did anything in office, and we were talking about it when we found out he was elected, we were talking about him being impeached. Aaron had predicted he would be impeached. He just got his time wrong. Again, if I remember correctly. But I think he said in the first 6 months. But next time you talk to Aaron, ask him.
Something easy this time.
Scientism.
Scientism.
What'd I sign up for? Gee.
Isn't that fake thing that Christians accuse us of?
No, it's a thing. No, there's something called scientism. The way I explain scientism to people is the misuse of the scientific method in situations where it shouldn't be applicable. Because in science, what they try to do is they look at an observation, they look at a natural phenomenon, and they want to explain it in natural terminologies. Okay, natural explanations for natural phenomena. This is called methodological naturalism. They cannot jump to a supernatural causation.
Because we don't know how to...
Yeah, how would you even test such a thing, right? So by fiat, they basically say that, we observe something, it's not going to be because of, a ghost, or it's not because of a spirit, it's not because of a deity. It has they assume a naturalistic explanation. And so there's a methodological approach to that. But in philosophy, the God claim is not contingent upon science. Science excludes that. Science from day one, it came from natural theology, but it said, you know what? Science isn't going to be the tool to address that question. It's not going to be the tool for that. And so when people apply science to the question of God, it's a misuse of that because it was explicitly taken out of that dominion for a reason because they recognize that science isn't going to be the tool for that. And it makes sense because if let's say that a God exists, then that God can change the rules of the game at any time. So if you have a scientific approach and you have a methodological approach that says, okay, based on what we know of science, push this, it moves that way, right? For every action, there's equal to opposite reaction. These are all laws of physics that we've observed. They're all descriptive. But God can make that change at any time. So you can never be sure about your methodological approach because God just might be messing with you. So, I mean, and by the way, probably has, right? Scientism is basically people are so fixated on science that they lose the ability to talk about these topics in any kind of philosophical sense. That's how I kind of generalize science.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, if you find it that way, then okay, I've seen atheists do that.
Meeting of the minds, yeah.
Yeah, but it does kind of sound like that's something that we would be accused of more than actually probably
right.
happens.
No, I agree with that too. It's a word that's misused, but so is evolutionism, right? I mean, people say, well, are you an evolutionist? I'm like, yeah. I mean, do you accept evolutionism? Yeah. And people will like, that's a pejorative type term. I mean, no, not really. I don't think so. I'm a proud evolutionist. I accept evolutionary theory. And people say, well, do you believe in evolution? Well, yeah. I mean, it exists. So of course I believe in it. It has ontology. It exists. So I'm not opposed to using those types of terms. And so I really, I mean, if somebody doesn't want to call themselves an evolutionist, you don't have to. But I don't think it should be pejorative. I think that people should accept it if they believe evolution. I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'm an evolutionist. But I know a lot of creationists want to use that word in a very derogatory sense. And there's reasons for that. They want to stigmatize it, right? Oh, you're one of those dirty evolutionists, right? It's supposed to have that stigma that they're putting on. But you know what? We do the same to a creationist. I'm not a creationist fan, right? But to me, creationism is almost a pejorative term. Young Earth creationism.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've seen actually, it seems like I've noticed that people on both sides of the great debate have used a form of scientism before. I've seen people on both sides of it use it because...
Oh, I have no doubt.
Right, because there's other topics that people can talk about too, besides just the great debate, that, well, they'll try to insert like, oh, this study proves what I'm saying, or it's science.
Yeah.
And we're speaking about this philosophically. There's no science involved. You can't gotcha me with a "it's science" statement. You know? And it's atheists that do this shit sometimes, man.
Okay,
It's
if somebody says like a science proves something, and I understand what they mean by it, like Aaron did a video on it, and he used the term, and the way he explained it, I was fine with. It's not how I do it, but at least he explained his terminology, right? But in the big picture, science doesn't prove anything. Science is not supposed to prove anything. It can falsify things. But science is not the tool to prove things. Mathematics, logic, those things are. And so when somebody says, well, science has proved this, well, there's a problem with that. Because once you prove something, you cannot disprove it. Once proven, always proven. And somebody can say, well, what happens if there's an error in the proof? Well, then it was never proven to begin with. It's the same thing when we talked about knowledge last night. Same exact thing as knowledge. You can't have false knowledge. You can think you had knowledge, but if you were incorrect on it, you just never had knowledge to begin with, right? So you never proved it initially. So if it is actually a mathematical proof and it has been proven, you can't change it. But we don't want science like that. We want science to change. Science gets more knowledge. Science gets more data. We want it to be flexible because if you prove something in science, boom, you're done. Where do you go from there? And what happens later on, you find out, oh, well, it wasn't exactly like that. Then you realize, well, you didn't actually prove it. And then it's kind of an embarrassing thing. So, yeah, I don't like when people say science proves something. I think it's a mischaracterization of what science is supposed to do.
I wonder how much of it too is, and I know you disagree with this definition of atheism, but colloquially, like both sides will use it to mean a lack of belief in a God, which doesn't carry with it a burden of proof. So they're looking for some sort
New video.
I know that's why we have hours of footage we could do on that. But
Days, months.
But I wonder how much of it is believers trying to assign an ism that does carry a burden of proof, so that they can then argue against that, as opposed to maybe someone else's.
I don't know why they would do that. I mean, like I said, you accept evolutionary theory, Clary, right? Okay, so if it's just a word, it's an evolutionist. Okay, you accept there's a burden of proof there that why you believe in evolution, right? Mm-hmm. That's a burden of proof. Why do you hold it to be the case that we have 4 billion years of life history? Well, I mean, look at the evidence. Look at it. I believe it because of phylogeny. I believe it because of cladistics. I believe it because of a protein. How proteins have changed over a period of time. We can see all these things and we go, oh, well, this allows me to say that I accept evolutionary theory as a valid explanation for biodiversification. That's your justification. That's it. And so, the whole thing with like the atheism, the whole lack of belief, it's not that I disagree with that definition. It's just that it's just not how it's generally understood in philosophy. Mm-hmm. But even that, why do you lack a belief? Well, everybody who lacks a belief have probably a reason why they lack a belief. Mm-hmm. And that's all your burden of proof is. Why do you lack a belief? Well, it's, the God concept to me is incoherent, Trinity is incoherent. Those kind of things are justificatory conditions for why you don't believe. That's it. It's not that complicated. But that we can spend 4 hours on that video.
All right, well, that's what we got for one video. Steve, any projects you want to plug for the audience out there?
Well, we're just waiting for the Non Sequitur show to come back. Hopefully, maybe this month, maybe next month. Not too much longer. Working on it. But I don't think anything planned too much. I'm still doing DEF CON 1 Science with Landon Kurt Knoll. I'm still going to be, and maybe Dr. John Kroon. I'm still going to be doing Rum and Coke Nights, and I still got, we're doing Caffeine Corners every Monday with Cheshire, and we're Bullinator producing that officially now. He's actually hired, and he's going to get paid this time.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. It's a very highbrow intellectual
Clearly.
interpretation.
You're like done, yeah.
All right, here we go.
All right, let's do it.
Work.
Let's go.
So, real quick, do military people like do you just like make up acronyms sometimes
Yeah.
in conversation? You're like, oh yeah, I had an E5 with a P64 back
Oh,
in
yeah,
'62,
this
and
is
they
special
F4'd
language.
all over the place.
Those are all actual acronyms.
Yeah, you know that, right? Yeah, like you take your MOS and you stick it in the POW for the DLC 219.14
Yeah.
subchapter.
Get a little RESPECT, find out what it means to me. Yeah.
No, we like our terminology. It's not as bad as the Marines, though. Marines are worse.